So I'm here at SMX West with Joe Kershbaum, and we're talking about ad optimization for paid search. Joe is at Clicks Marketing.
That's right.
At Clicks Marketing.
That's right.
Excellent. And so you've been there for how long?
3 years. Been upwards of 3 years, and I've been doing SEM for a little over 6.
Yeah, excellent. So Joe's an expert in paid search optimization, and that's what we want to talk about today. So Joe, maybe you can give us a little bit about some of the things that are top of mind right now on hot topics for paid search optimization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we want to focus on ads, it's funny because you told me, we want to talk about ads. So I really started thinking about, okay, what's hot? Like what's new, and how can we take ad optimization to the next level? So that's what I was like, okay, well, let's think about that. Because, there's always like the best practices for ad optimization. There's, put your keyword in the headline. There's, making sure that your display URL has like, a little tag on it to make it more personal, and make sure you get your keyword in there and all those things. And I feel like that's so tried and true that, I don't know how you see SERPs, but when you see ads on SERPs, everything's starting to look the same.
Right.
Like basically everybody has the same playbook.
Right.
So everybody's putting their keywords in the headlines, and everybody's doing the same thing. Then all of a sudden, because we were doing some competitive analysis for our competitors, or for some of our clients, and I just kind of realized like the SERP, just everything kind of looked the same. And I was like, wow, everybody's running the same plays here.
Right.
So like as a user, like I was looking for something, I didn't, when everybody has the same thing, it's really hard to choose. So if you ask me, like the next step that I think people need to start doing to like optimize their ad is take it like one step farther. Because what people do is we talk about benefits and benefit-driven ads. Don't just say we sell project management software, because who cares about that? You have to go one step farther, which I feel like people aren't doing. As in, like, who are you talking to? What's their hopes? What's their fears? Yeah, you may know that they looked on a keyword for project management software.
Right.
Well, okay, we know what that means. They're looking for software. But why are they looking for the software?
Yeah.
What are their hopes? What are their fears? What are they trying to fix? Because so many people aren't, at least when we started then comparing, competitors' ads, and some of the ads that we had written had kind of gotten past that, like, emotional, that, non-keyword, non-search query part, and really making yourself stand out, making a new playbook basically, and not being so keyword focused, because I think that's what's going to be next, because things are starting to get really, really cluttered out there. So I think that's going to be the next step that people need to start doing, is not being so keyword focused and being benefit focused, but taking that next step and really, really focusing on their hopes, their fears, their dreams, to really stand out on the search engines. I think that's what people are going to need to start doing.
It's interesting you talk about best practices, because we find the same thing. We focus on landing page optimization.
Yes, you guys certainly do. You're the best.
Yeah, but we find this, landing pages are all, again, just like ads, starting to all look the same.
Yeah.
Everyone's following the same best practices.
Yeah, everybody has the 5 best practices. I put everything above the fold, call to action over here, and I just find a lot of times that stuff doesn't always adhere. It's per client. Is that what you guys find?
Until you try something new, also, you don't know if the best practices actually work.
Yeah.
They are the best. And, how do you break out from the crowd?
Exactly. Like, call to action. Everybody always says, when we do account reviews, or we've seen other people do things like, you're missing a call to action in your ad. I'm like, but don't just don't always assume that's exactly what you need in your pay-per-click ad. Is that right for is that the best thing for this client? Is that the best thing for this keyword? Is that the best thing for this audience? Is that the best thing for this persona? Don't just do it because you're supposed to.
Right.
And you guys probably say that with landing pages where, you don't know. What I always find is like you don't know what's going to work. So I feel like when we talk about ad optimization, I feel like it's really hard to talk about best practices because it's different for every client, for every keyword, for every persona that you're targeting. You never know what's going to work, and that's what's great, and that's why you have to keep testing, because I often am surprised. I'm like, this ad is amazing, it has all the best practices, and it loses, and it does terribly. So I think as far as like giving people tips and suggestions for optimizing their ads, is don't always adhere to the best practices. Like get outside the box and try something different. If it fails, well, that's fine. Make sure you run your test for a limited amount of time. Don't let it run forever. But just try something different. Your ad might be. You might feel like your ad is less focused, but that might be good. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm sure you guys see the same thing with landing pages.
Now you do a lot of ad testing on paid search, right? Is there a process you follow for how you optimize or know when you're achieving an optimized ad? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, there's a few things that people need to keep in mind when they're running paid search ads. Is like, especially in Google AdWords, there are a few different settings that you can utilize. One of them is to just rotate your ads evenly, which is best. If you want to test your ads against each other. There's a couple other options like rotate for clicks, so Google will show the ad that's getting the higher clicks or click-through rate, and then also for conversions. So Google will start showing the best ones for conversions. For really true split tests, most people need to choose rotate evenly. Unfortunately, in Ad Center, they just automatically start showing the ad at the higher click-through rate. So there isn't really a great, you can test, but you have to watch it a lot closer because all of a sudden your ads will start teeter-tottering towards the higher click-through rate ad. But the way that we test is usually we will determine our control ad, usually over time, and determine the ad that we have to beat. That's your champion ad. Right. And then usually, because if a test does go terribly awry, we don't want to devote half of our traffic to a bad ad, and two, we don't always want to degrade our quality score. So what we'll normally do is take our control ad and copy it once or twice, because they usually maintain the same quality score because the text is the same, even if it's the same exact ad, and then put in your test ad. So you're kind of got three. So you have two. Yep, exactly. So you weight it. So you have 2 or 3 control ads, and then you got your one test ad. And then as you find, and you guys know how it is. You guys do a lot of testing. As if the challenge ad is doing well, then you turn off one of your control ads and start devoting more traffic to it. And then as it goes up, but if the ad doesn't work, well, then you only devoted like 25% of your traffic.
Yeah.
It does take a little bit more time to do that rather than just toss an ad in and hope it does well. But that's the thing, is if you toss an ad and let it run for a week and you've dedicated, some of our clients could spend upwards of $10,000 on that one ad, and the conversion rate or click-through rate is half of the other one. Well, you kind of just dedicate a whole lot of money to a bad ad.
Right, yeah.
So as far as optimizing, I think people need to do basically make sure they got their settings right. Make sure that they include a couple copies of their control ad. Make sure that they watch their tests closely, and then also make sure that they know exactly what they're testing. Because we see tests all the time with pay-per-click ads where you can't even really tell what the difference is. It's like, well, okay, this is your challenger ad, so what's different? Like, oh, well, instead of learn more, it says learn more now. Like, really? Is that what's really going to move the needle? Is that's the big thing?
Testing
testing? Yeah. Really, like start now and start here or something. I'm like, really? That's it? That's all you've got? So that kind of goes with the, you've really got to start getting creative.
Some new ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, what's the point of testing if you're not going to try something completely different?
Yeah. So you test something radical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can tell this is ad A and this is ad B, and you can say, okay, and you have a purpose, and you should also have an idea of what the outcome should be.
Right.
Like, this is why we're testing this ad. This ad is different because of this. And it's like, okay, good. Now if it fails, then you know why it failed, so you're smarter for the next test.
Yeah.
You guys test all the time. You want to learn as you go. Okay, wow, the emotional pull that we tried to do really didn't work. Maybe these people are a little more logical. Maybe they want, things like that. Okay, well, let's try that in the next one. Of course, you guys, with landing pages, you have a lot more room because you have all the space as to where with the PPC ad, you're looking like 70 characters.
Focused,
It's hard to get that crazy.
Yeah. But it's a good point, because aiming for marketing insights as opposed to just tweaking minutia can really have a greater impact, because then you can take that learning and use it throughout the rest of your marketing activities.
Exactly. And you can take what you learn on, and we try to go both ways. We try not to work in a bubble where if we find something working on the landing page, we'll then move that over to the ads and see if that kind of messaging or a point that we're making works, or vice versa. We're like, wow, removing the price from an ad really gives us a leg up rather than trying to compete on price. Well, maybe we should do that on landing page. And we try to learn going backwards and forwards both ways. So. And
what goal do you use when you're testing your ads to find out which ones are the best?
Sure. We look at a couple different things, but generally, because most of our clients are direct response, it's almost always conversion rate, ROI, and ROAS is usually what we're looking at, and all the way down to like revenue per click and things like that, and click-through rate, because we are mindful of quality score, and we don't want to the winning ad has a half click-through rate than the other ads. It's really going to start. It's going to start degrading things. But we basically, the core metrics that we look at is click-through rate, conversion rate, and sometimes even average order value and stuff like that. So we can see. But we also know that there's landing page stuff involved in that as well. But those are the core metrics that we look at in order to determine a winner. And of course, we try to allot enough time in order to get large enough sample size.
Outliers.
Exactly. We try to get the statistically valid winner, and then with some of our clients that will have few conversions but high value conversions, sometimes you just can't get there to statistical relevance. You just have to make a gut check. It's like, okay, well, this ad has 10 conversions and this ad has 5. Okay, we're not quite there yet, but you have to make a decision eventually. But we generally prefer to let them run long enough, but you can't also let your tests run for 6 months.
So eventually, a business decision, and there's opportunity cost too, having a bad test out there.
Exactly. So we just that's another thing I would suggest to people is make sure you have a large enough sample size. But sometimes you just can't, and you just have to make the decision and say, okay, you have to make the best decision. I know everybody's always
business, not just research.
Or people are. It's always not the best decision. People are afraid of making a bad decision.
Yeah.
It's like just try not to make the bad one.
That's right. Yeah. Well, as long as you're not killing yourself on revenue. It's
Yeah.
happy that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what our clients will, most of our clients just let us test whatever as long as it's improving things. You know, we can say, oh, we're testing this and that, and they're like, okay, as long as it's working, or if it doesn't work, as long as you stop it quickly.
Right. Yeah, don't hurt us too much.
Exactly. But they want to know what we're testing, and they like to know that we're trying new ideas, and that, you know, you can see the difference between ad A and ad B. Like, there's a distinct difference, and you can see what we're testing, and that we have a method. We kind of, you know, the idea is, you know, you form your theory of, we think this is what's going to happen if we test it, and then, you know, it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Well, thanks. That's really good information,
Great.
Joe.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for inviting me.
You know, there was another thing. I noticed that you also have a hobby.
Yes.
You're a poet.
I am, yeah. I do poetry stuff and publish poems and do readings.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I'll link to some of that on
Thanks.
YouTube.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much.